This is about why my parents still fight, or why do I struggle with my spouse. So we're moving the vitality elements for later, so when more people come, they can receive that content as well. And most of you here have already received it. So this first one is related to our ancestors, really, about why we still struggle. And first, I will show some pictures of how our ancestors are involved in our lives, so that we can just understand more about how they're involved with what we're doing. In this picture, there's a blue angel, the ancestors behind, and these are the blessed ancestors behind. So they are supporting this blessed couple to receive God's love. And so by the ancestors who are perfect, they're completely pure and they're able, they're basically like God, they're perfect couples. They resemble God 100%. And there's no blemish or no marks on them or anything. So they can really help and support us. And when we live a principled lifestyle, then our ancestors, blessed ancestors, can bring God's love to us, and they can help us, help to enhance God's love within us as well. So that's what they're doing in this picture. And that love coming down on the top, that's God's love, which comes down directly. And it's like a symbolic or visual manifestation of God's love coming onto the person. And do you remember any pictures of the golden halo above people's heads? Oh, that's a cross section of this golden pillar coming down. If you cut at an angle, you can see the circle. So that's what the halo is. And here's another example. So the light just absorbs onto and it just changes the color of what it touches. And this is during Hundake, and the blessed ancestors come and they join as well. Just because they're perfect and they're one with God, it doesn't mean they don't get benefit from Hundake, or that there's not something else that they can learn. Because you can, it would be a bit boring if you already knew everything, or if you could not have any new experience. Like, for example, when God created, He didn't know what we would do, what option we would choose. He totally hoped for the best as well, but He acted only in that direction, like we would follow His direction, but so He doesn't know what we're going to do. He can't. Although He has that potential, He has the potential to know, but He, in a way, chooses not to, because it would violate our freedom. So they join us in Family Pledge as well. And here are spirits behind Sister when she's reading Hundake. So in this example, there were grey spirits behind the sister, and as she was doing Hundake, then they turned to gold. So they started receiving the benefit of Hundake as well. Behind them are many ancestors, and this one ancestor appeared prominently. And so our ancestors, we have a close set of ancestors around us, and they are the ones whose characters match our own. Because they need to be restored through returning resurrection. And so when we have these ancestors working with us, we are influenced by them as well, by their characters and their behavior. So our own characters, we have a unique character. We also are similar to some people. So this is a common base that we have for our ancestors to work with us. As well as the connection through lineage, and in some respects we have a common mission as well. Because many of your ancestors who, the reason that you joined, like the first generation that you joined, is because your ancestors set the foundation for you to join. And in most cases it's because they had a spiritual experience where they saw the spirit world, and they knew that they should bring their family to God. They need to go in that direction. So these main ancestors that are working with us through returning and resurrection are usually those ones that have had this experience in the past. It could even be a grandparent or many generations in the past. But this benefit of their direction, the change of direction, maybe they became a Christian or something, or if it was further back in time, maybe they decided they don't want to fight in a war anymore, and they decided to be farmers. Like both my sets of grandparents didn't fight in the war. One of them worked on the trains, and the other was a farmer. And I believe that there was a good benefit from that they didn't participate in directly in fighting in the world wars. So this is Hondoke in the spirit world, where the spirits gather together. And I actually had a similar experience to this one as well, where we were doing Hondoke as a group in front of a series of levels with tables and chairs, and people were there, and we were witnessing to them and educating these spirits. And the ones at the front would receive a lot of benefit, and when they would understand the content, then they would, like, the more they understood the content, then the closer to the front they became. And then when they totally absorbed the Hondoke, then they would move to another area, another place, and everyone else would come closer to the front, and more people would appear at the back. So it was a continual process. And when I woke up, then someone took my place. So I saw this when I went to sleep. So this is like an ongoing activity for spirits in the spirit world. Even with our ancestors, when we do Hondoke, and they join together with us and receive these benefits. And you can see there's a spirit on the left. He's struggling to understand because it's really new. So they need to stretch their minds as well in the spirit world. So this is a monk, and he brought his friends as well. So he's like a head monk, and he was very interested in this gold shining book and the content. So he wanted to bring his I don't know how you would call a group of monks, not monkeys, right? I suppose. So, brothers, that's the one, yeah. And this lady is, you'd say like a Negro person. Like at that time, it's not a bad word, it's what they just used to describe a group of people. And so she was like a grandmother, and she had these slaves, so, or workers. So, we get influenced by all of these things, what our ancestors were responsible for when we inherit a certain mission, for example. We have a pressure on us sometimes for our mission, and it's not necessarily a bad pressure, it's just you have many good ancestors who are trying to support you, and they want you to accomplish your mission. So, but sometimes they lack the awareness of time and space and the physicality, like you need a rest or you need time to spend time with your spouse and your family, because they're always wanting to try to help you fulfill your mission. So sometimes you just need to ask them to step back a bit, so you can spend time with your family, and if they want, help your family and stuff like that. So, this, it feels like a lot of weight in a public position, but it's not always a bad thing. So I say, just ask them to step back, And I do this a lot with my ancestors. I used to ask them to help me go to sleep, because otherwise I would stay awake and I could work online and do stuff until 4 a.m. I have to wake up at 6. And it's possible for a certain time, but I can't just do that all the time. So I need some kind of discipline, and my ancestors are actually very helpful with that. If I try to go to sleep by myself, then I would find it difficult to go to sleep. It might take me too long because I am thinking about what I can do, or like the projects I'm working on. And also because my ancestors are trying to influence me with what I'm doing. So I decided to ask them to help me go to sleep. And each time I did that, I would go to sleep in several minutes. It's very easy. Just no need to try. I just would go to sleep and that's it. Then I also decided, after doing that for maybe 6 months, I thought I can ask them to help me wake me up in the morning. So I started doing that, and it works that way as well. It's brilliant. They just wake me up, even 1 minute before my alarm. I set my alarm, and then I'm like, okay, ancestors, wake me up 1 minute before, please. And it works. So yeah, it's really good. Actually, now I'm doing that now by myself without my ancestors. I've tried to make myself do that without their help. So just more like a direct relationship with God. But ancestors can help in many ways. Even with simple things, day-to-day tasks, even simple motivation and finding time to do something. Even when you go somewhere, like we went sightseeing, which was really awesome. We went to see Pikes Peak and the Garden of the Gods, and it was really amazing. And we were going to the car parks, and each time we went there were vacant spots, vacant car parking places, right? And for you guys, it seemed like a bit of a surprise. I know you were quite surprised there were spaces, but if we ask our ancestors in advance, we're going here today, can you please keep an empty space for me? Then each time you go there, you'll find an empty space. Or like when we went into that car park by Chipotle, when we turned, a car came out, so we had a space. Or was it the one before, I think, on the mountain, right? So, even when you arrive, then the car turns out and you get a space straight away. So there's no, it's just easy. They can help with these things. And so, yeah, we have various ancestors, and they come to us with their, they have holy robes, but they can also come to us wearing the clothes that they enjoy wearing, that they used to wear on Earth. Could be their traditional clothes. But if our ancestors are not blessed, then they have a lot of problems, and that influences us as well. So we have characteristics and traits that will be reflected in our own behavior. In this example, an ancestor is guiding this person's finger through Hundake. She's looking for something relevant, and then the ancestor's moving her finger to this point in the book. So yeah, again, it's Hundake. So in this occasion, ancestors which are grey need enlightenment, so to speak. They need to receive benefit of Hundake, and the light that comes from the Hundake book is a shining golden light. I actually remember shortly after I joined in Wales, I took the Divine Principle book to one of my friend's house, and she was like a spiritually open person. She had a shop for spiritual things, and I went to her group one time, and she was doing a trance medium as well. She had a spirit that came in and talking through her to the group, and everyone had their eyes closed, but I wanted to look to see what was going on, so I kept my eyes open, and while the person was speaking to the group, I was communicating with the spirit separately from the group. I thought, let's see how great the spirit is, because they're all saying it's a really high spirit, so I wanted to test the spirit. So I wanted to see if it could have a two-way conversation, and it could. I had a conversation with it, and it was exchanging information and stuff like that. Anyway, it wasn't like a big deal really. It was just something. And when I took the book to her house, she was asking me what it was, because she said she can see like golden light coming out of it, like a fire. So unfortunately, I didn't pursue that anymore, because I wasn't really prepared at that time for witnessing. I was only new, and I didn't really have any skills developed in that area so much. So I thought, maybe this person's not ready, or maybe we need more foundation. And so I feel like I missed out on that opportunity, because she clearly saw this spiritual fire coming from the principle. So this is a picture I drew recently just before coming here, but it's based on a experience I had of my physical parents when I was around 12 years of age. And so my parents were fighting outside, and I was asking them, why are you fighting? Because it just seems ridiculous. And I don't want this either, so I wanted to understand why it's happening. My parents, they had a sphere around them. You know, when I asked this question in my mind, I could see these two spheres around them. And they also had a larger sphere. So, you know, these pockets within their spheres are ancestors from the past. And you can see that all of them are fighting. And that's not to say all of their ancestors fought, but the ones which are influencing them to fight did fight. And so the mother on the left, I would say mother because it's just an example, you know, not necessarily mine, but it can be others too. There's a lot of the women trying to control the man, like them pointing and accusing and shouting and stuff like that. And the man on the right is being too domineering as well, not allowing his wife, trying to control her basically as well, just like the woman is trying to control her husband on the left. And also kind of making excuses when he did something wrong and he's not taking responsibility and not considering his wife's emotions so much, just saying, you know, don't be so stupid, you know, this type of thing. So, yeah, so they were both influenced and fighting, but also their spheres were connected in the middle to the degree of their love. And this is the couple sphere. The ideal relationship is when those two spheres connect and they form one sphere. And that's the harmonization of a husband and wife. And that's only possible centering on God's love, the total unity. And they were connected to this degree in the middle because they made love, of course they had children, so they shared love physically. And there was also spiritual love there too, but quite minimal, really, compared to their full potential. So when I saw that, I realized I know more than my parents did about their situation, and I had no teacher anymore. No, they can't teach me. I couldn't. That's when I really began my spiritual quest. You know, I needed to find absolute truth in order to resolve these kind of problems. You know, and to avoid them myself. So then after 3 years later, when I was around 15, I left home because I needed to continue that quest with more freedom. These. I mean, in our movement, you know, we have this ideology from true parents, and you know, it clearly describes how to have relationships, and you know, from the point of being selfless, you know, that we need to be selfless toward our spouse and so on, but also not in the sense of self-depreciation, you know, where we put ourselves down. You know, that's not what it's about. So. It's also about forming habits, right? Because also many older first gen, you know, deserve like the ultimate respect for what is being achieved. You know, this church building all around the world. You know, I live in a 5-story building in Ireland with 100 steps, and the elder members bought that from fundraising. We have businesses all over the world. You know, you've made an incredible foundation that is. It's like almost impossible to believe. So that kind of lifestyle is it's like the mission mindset, I think. I'm not sure if that's a term you've used, but very focusing very much on the mission. And in a way, a lot of individual actions. And I also heard in reports from elder members that when some members started their family life and they were not doing so much fundraising or witnessing, they were kind of considered like satanic families because they weren't focusing on the mission. So yeah, so there's a change in the providence really, and some of these families were maybe ahead of their time in a way. They kind of paved the way for the second generation and other couples to start their family life. So I don't know why I'm crying. It's like kind of it's emotional, right? So so this mission mindset, it kind of forms the neural pathways in your brain, right? Because when you have certain thoughts repeatedly over and over again for a long time, then you're creating neural pathways in your brain, which get stronger and stronger. And then those kind of thoughts become second nature, right? When it's a physical habit, your brain actually allows those thoughts to happen easier. So when you're doing the same thing over and over again, and this happens, such as in a mission mindset, it's difficult to change your physicality of your brain. And therefore how easy it is for you to think new thoughts or in a new way. So when the time comes to move from being like individual mission to being a family, or to work as a couple in your family rather than in a center, it's very difficult. So that's one reason why there's a lot of elder couples still struggle with their relationship, is that it's very difficult to change their way of thinking. It is possible. It would take a lot of effort, of course, especially if you've done a long-time mission. But your ancestors can help you as well. This is one thing your ancestors can help you with. And for the next generation as well, if we are raised with these kind of habits as well, if we are raised with parents who have these kind of remnants of indemnity course, which is unfortunate. Indemnity course is an unfortunate thing, but so it's even more reason to respect the elder members, like what they've achieved through that. But if you're raised in a family where you have this ideology and the parents are still struggling to achieve it, you have a lot of questions, but then there's an incredible foundation there as well. So even the education itself is so much more than anyone else has, in my experience. That I know so many people who have so many problems, and it just seems like all they need to know is a principle, and they could really change a lot. So that's kind of like inheritance as well, what we inherit. But then if you're like a young couple, a new couple, and you have your spouse, then it's a similar thing. You need to consider how long you've been an individual, because you have your individual sphere, but then you need to merge together as a couple. And that unity in the middle is based on God's love. So when you experience God's love as a couple, through your physical relationship as well, then that will bind you together. And I'll go into later as well about the vitality elements. We explored this yesterday a bit, but I want to present again for those who are new today about what vitality elements actually could be. I think I found what they are. So based on that, you can also understand how we receive God's love, like the actual process of that occurring. And for those already who have had that presentation, you can understand this light of God. It comes into our body on a physiological level, and that is a lot like entanglement. I'm not sure if you know of this terminology in science, quantum physics, but entanglement, which Einstein called spooky action at a distance, is when two photons are united. So entanglement is another term for unification. or unity, is when two photons are connected so that when you affect one photon, the other is instantaneously affected. So, but that's regardless of distance. You can put the other photon on the other side of the universe, and it will be changed at the same moment the counterpart is changed. So they're connected at a fundamental level beyond time and space. And there's this flow of information between them as well. So when we have couples they have their individual sphere, which is like a photon, you can imagine as a photon, they need to become entangled together so that if you affect one, the other one is also instantaneously affected. And I experienced that with my wife a lot. My wife and I have a great connection. And we have a lot of similar experiences, and I will present some of those later as well today. You can share emotions and thoughts and things. You can really try it out on each other, like develop some games and try to remember a memory that you've had together and really experience the memory, and then see if your partner can pick up on it. And just keep doing that. If you keep practicing it, you'll get it. So